All right, folks. Hello, everybody. We're doing a podcast recording tonight, so this is going to be part of our podcast feed tonight, and I'm pretty excited about it. So it should be great to catch up with Kevin again. All the things. Should be good. The podcast is called The Sandwich Sports Show, but tonight we're not really going to get into sports. We're just going to do a regular random question. So really excited to have y'all here. Do not forget about the community challenge coming up. You can make a 3-hour stick stream happen with your community points. So chip them on in if you would like to. And I'll be right back with just take a restroom break, and I shall return in just a moment. And then we'll start the show. Should be great. Okay. I will tell you what it was. The sandwich was a grilled cheese on a hamburger bun. Unfortunately, I ate it. I'm so sorry. I was too hungry today, but it was really good. It was really good. It's just cheese and horseradish sauce. It was really good, really good. And actually, we're trying to negotiate the time for a sauce tier list ranking. Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't blame people for unfollowing after that, but I appreciate you not doing so. Yeah. Oh gosh, what a fun time! It's Speed Tony JK, not JK. It's Speed from another account. It's Speed from another account. Welcome in, I guess. Nice to meet you. Can't unfollow before the stick stream. And it looks like we're getting closer to it every day, aren't we? So just for yeah, hey. Oh yeah. So you were telling me about that's right, Speed the Beast, right? Because you mentioned that Tony is your primary account. Yeah, okay, cool. It's good to see you again. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to get confused there, but great to see you. Another alt account. Oh, no worries, no worries. We'd love to take your questions tonight, so you can actually do that now if you want to before we start the podcast in earnest. But we're gonna open the queue. So just a second, the queue should be open. There we go. Exclamation point question, and go ahead and get your questions in. You can ask anything about anything tonight, and yes, the community challenge is still underway, so you can contribute as many as 2,000 points tonight to the all stick stream. It should be a good time. Well, the real Speed Beast one, please stand up. Please stand up. Please stand up. Oh man. Oh wow. That's kind of crazy. Well, I won't dive into the specifics of that, but I it's good to see you though tonight. One way or the other. Yeah, sometimes it can happen for any number of reasons. So I'm not gonna be one to. I will not dive in. It was for no reason. It happens. It happens. Yeah. Because you notice that people were getting banned from Facebook for no reason too. You may have caught that too. So okay, great. Yeah, this is a really good. This is really great. It's really great to see you both tonight to start us off. So let's go ahead and start things up, and we'll set things up. Dave, you might ban. No, I'm not gonna ban you. Okay, I never ban you. What would I ban you for? You've been nothing but great to all of us. Okay, here we go. Let's do the thing. Here we go. Very exciting stuff.
Doc Rivers continues to time and time again not get it when it comes to getting. Oh! Let him play!
Hey, welcome back. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Sandwich Sports Podcast Show, part of the Sandwich Show here on Twitch. I'm Dave Medina. You also know me as Davey is eating a sandwich. I see that our friend has checked in. And we're gonna do some random questions tonight. It's really great. This is a something we've done on the podcast, the Sandwich Sports Show, for a very, very long time. And before it was a Sandwich Sports Show, it was known as Dave in the City Out West, and it was an all-purpose podcast. And we did comedy, we did sports, and we get into all sorts of stuff on these random question shows. And that's why we do random questions here on the Sandwich Show today, because it was kind of carried over from our podcast. And so I'm really excited to do this. It has been a minute since, it's been a few weeks since we've seen our friend Kevin. So let's not waste any more time. It's time for America's favorite moment. You know the one in sports talk podcasting and Twitch broadcasting.
Do the dance. It's time for random questions. Great stuff. In the city with Kevin on the Cape.
Talk about a throwback right there. How's it, Kevin? If you can hear me, it's great to see you tonight. Or AKA the other guy. How's it going?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness, and it looks like it's really cold where you are right now. Oh my goodness.
It's extremely cold. It's snowing. Well, you know what? It's not that terrible. It's like 30. I know.
That's not that bad.
30.
No, for Massachusetts, it's not bad at all. It's actually kind of warm, to be honest.
We had like 6 inches of snow yesterday, and I don't think you said a few weeks, but this is the first time I've seen you in the new year. Don't say Happy New Year. Don't do it.
No. I was, it's funny you mentioned that. I was actually struggling with the idea of saying Happy New Year. Like once we got to around January 15th, like I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy that just says Happy New Year when it's way too late already. So I wanted to make sure I don't do that. So thank you for making sure I don't.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. This has been a really interesting transitional period for this program. And specifically the podcast.
Ooh, tell me about it.
Yeah, it's been an amazing time, and the things that we've seen, the people we've met, like the things I've discovered, it's really remarkable. Like to see that you can do things that you didn't know you could do. And specifically, like with my ability to play music, has been kind of amazing. King Downbreaker, welcome in, King. Welcome. It's good to see you. Oh shoot, I probably should revise that thing. That is not Indubitably Blended. That's our friend Kevin on the Cape. My fault. I need to update that thing. But I'm doing well. Just to repeat your question, just to answer your question, I'm doing really well. For those of you who are not familiar with random questions, the way it works is you can type an exclamation point question, followed by the question itself. Enter that in the chat, and then we'll take your questions in order throughout the next couple hours or so. So it was great to see you tonight. But yeah, I mean, I just see, as we talked about the last time we did random questions together back in, gosh, when was that? Like November?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, it was really interesting. Like we discussed the transition, the switch over from YouTube.
It was your first like switch over week.
It was like right before he did it. So now the podcast is part of the Sandwich Show, which is been really exciting. We've met new people that way. We've had a lot of people in the chat, and we finished out the season talking sports, on Wednesdays as we had so much fun doing. I'm glad you were part of it though. Like honestly, it was a struggle like the previous season finding those guest pickers because like sometimes you could find them, sometimes you wouldn't. But having a consistent presence the whole time was great. I loved your rally at the end of the year to get into third place. Props to you.
That's
Nice.
exciting. Yeah, that's very exciting.
Yeah.
Not in the cellar.
Yeah, that's pretty
Who
cool.
lost? Who was it? Ron lost?
Yeah, but it's okay. I mean, there are some years that when Ron wins the entire, takes it all, bros, and so it's kind of cool that he's not in that space today. Kev, are you following games right now? Like, or is he just watching our feed? Or I was wondering if
I was looking at your chat room for a second here.
Oh yeah. Well, let's meet some of our friends in the chat. So King Downbreaker is a variety streamer who's really good supporter of this channel.
Watching games. It's like you don't even know me.
I know, but you were for a while. I remember you were watching the Mets. I remember you were watching Mets games, and you were watching like the Knicks. You were watching like basketball for a little bit during our.
No, I was watching the Knicks in like '93.
Yeah,
college basketball I would watch. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we could get into that, but I'm not gonna waste everybody's time with that. But I'm definitely following it. Like the Big East has been really fun. It's interesting to see Xavier doing well, but again, I'm not gonna waste your. I'm not gonna drag everybody through that. But let me pivot that back to you. How are you? How's the family? I know you were. I'm glad you guys are feeling better. I think that's the first thing I would say.
Yeah, we were down for the count for a while. Everything's good, Dave. Did I tell you? Did I tell you I'm not working anymore?
You did not tell me this.
Okay.
What kind of a job did you have, though, if you don't mind me asking?
That's a new one. Well, I was a journalist, that for 10 years, and then I got caught in the food and beverage world and was a food and beverage director for 15 years, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Which was rough. But yeah, so my last day was 2 days before Christmas, and my wife's first day at her new job was 2 days after Christmas. So we didn't even miss a week. We timed it out pretty well, and I was good riddance. And I'm done. I'm done. I'm not going back. I'm not going back to that industry when it's time. Long story short, like the baby is going to be 2 in a couple months, so I won't be looking for anything real until she's ready to go to school. So,
I love it. I love that.
Me and her, the little guy's doing well. He's in school. He's 4 now. So just gonna be a dad, and I'm gonna try to do some writing. And I'm working out this little sort of idea for a Substack thing and some other stuff for just to kind of write some stuff that I've been interested in. I've been going pretty heavy into like American pop culture stuff, which was right up your alley if I ever can pull it off.
Ooh, you're right.
But trying to break it down to a little more of a manageable. Obviously, it's a humongous topic, so that's to be determined. Probably something online in February. But other than that, just doing the dad stuff, and glad to talk to you tonight. It's been long enough. We used to do this every week. I don't know if these guys and ladies know, we used to do this every week for, I felt like 8 years, but
it did feel, it was, well, something like 5, because like we started in 2011, and then I feel like it was around the point when it could have been 2015, or it could have been the point when you had the heart attack in 2017,
right?
Somewhere around there.
2017. Yeah, you're right. Wow, you're on. Yeah, 6-year anniversary on January 13th. We just passed it.
Yeah.
So,
and
we already got a question. This is
great.
Sorry, I'm stealing. This is your job, but
no, it's okay.
The only reason why I'm really excited is because I had this idea of a question for you, which every once in a while I'll think of questions in case we don't get any.
Mm-hmm.
And this is almost on the theme that I was thinking of.
Oh, okay.
So, Tony, not something.
Tony K.
But that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. Tony, thank you very much for the question. We had Tony in last week under a different account, but this is one of some. People can sometimes have multiple accounts. They have multiple accounts and so on and so forth. But so, people used to make fun of me for having 2 accounts on Twitter, and now everybody does. So, Ha.
Who was that? Who wasn't there? Philadelphia's the 76ers GM did that and got
I
wasn't he doing that?
think you're right.
It was like Colangelo's kid or something, or and
Eh,
like trying like the guys he was trying to negotiate with, he was like tearing them down. Like, really, dude? Two Twitter
That's
accounts? That's what you come
hysterical.
up with?
Yeah, I was thinking about Kevin Durant when he had the burner account, but that's even worse.
Yeah,
That's a guy who actually manages the team. It's like a little worse, actually.
yeah.
Um, so Tony K, not JK, with a question. And as far as now, I know that you can sometimes be off and on social media, but in general terms, who's the most popular person you follow, Kev?
That's a great question. It's literally the theme of what I've been thinking about lately, but
Mm-hmm.
or at least today. And Dave's right. I go back and forth with my social media, and I'm literally out off Instagram. Well, Facebook I've been off forever, but and Twitter and um, but I can still answer that. I mean, like I can say who is the most popular person I
Mm-hmm.
followed. You obviously would. I mean, it's pretty.
You're being very
It's
kind. Thank
pretty.
you.
It's pretty simple, right? Like you could
Mm-hmm.
just go to who you follow and then see who has the most followers, and
Right, right,
there's the
right.
most
Mm-hmm.
popular, I guess.
Yep.
I was, and Dave knows this from a long time ago. I sometimes there's at times I'm a contrarian just because that's who I am, but then there's sometimes I do it on purpose to annoy people. So I think I would intentionally not follow famous people for a time. But uh that's a good I never followed athletes. Movie I every once in a while I would follow somebody famous and they would say something ridiculously stupid. So it would take I never got much out of that. I'm trying to imagine like when I was getting it's probably like a chef or something back when I was doing all the cooking stuff and
Mm-hmm.
uh, I don't know. I don't even the most popular person I followed. It had to be Instagram because I was on that the most. It's funny. I don't even know. It was probably somebody like uh Mark Maron, some like like some podcaster who had a lot of followers. Like I never followed Joe Rogan, but you know what? Bill Burr is probably would
Oh, there
probably
you
be
go.
my
That'd be a
answer.
good one. Yeah, yeah.
Is a
Yep.
comedian who's really popular. He's probably the one as far as like the social media most popular person I followed at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I like comedians, you know that. I love comedians.
Yeah. I think to answer, if I were to answer that question, if I go back to my old Twitter account, which I really don't use anymore, it would have been Jimmy. I would say Jimmy Fallon would be the answer to that question. But I'm not even on there, so am I really following Jimmy Fallon anymore? No, but really, was I always go back to this story. Like I think you know this story. Like when Twitter was starting in 2009, like he had to follow Friday on his old show, like on the late night show that he used to do before he was on the Tonight Show. And for whatever reason, he followed my Twitter account at the time, and that was like the greatest honor I had up to that point. I'm like, man, I'm making it now. Jimmy Fallon follows me. Like, doesn't really mean anything, but it was really exciting for a day. So
That was exciting. Jimmy Fallon's third assistant followed you.
yeah, probably. But I know. You said you like comedians, and then there's Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, I didn't want to shit on Jimmy Fallon.
I'm not
I've
gonna
done
shit
that
on him
enough.
either because like I think he's a cool guy. Like I think he's a cool guy. I mean,
He seems like a nice person.
yeah,
So
he seems like good people. So I think he does it. He's certainly a better host than Jay Leno ever was. Like he's much more warm and accommodating, and listens to people. Like he's on the moon compared to
yeah,
Jay Leno. But
he seems like a nice person. I'm still waiting for him. I guess you don't have to be like hysterically funny. He's multi-talented. He can play music and sing and like I said, he's a good guy. I saw him on the Thanksgiving
mhm.
parade. That was horrendous.
Wait,
I
wait,
don't
wait. When
know
was this year?
how
This
much.
past year?
Yeah,
Oh
he
wow,
was
I did not know that.
doing something. I
Uh,
don't even know what it was. I felt like and maybe he's just that naturally bubbly, but I was like, this guy's on something. Like this was but that could just be his personality. But
Possibly.
yeah, that one was a little weird. But
And he's popular, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. Brad Lord Ipsman, welcome into the chat. It's great to see you. Thank you for the 2,000 points for the All Sticks Piano Stream Challenge. I really appreciate you. Like, that's really great, Brad. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And do we have any other? Oh yeah, and Tony, thank you so much for the. Thank you very much for your points as well. JT, thank you for the resub. So good. Hey, it's good to see you, JT. Welcome in. Feel free to ask us some questions if you've ever wanted to know anything about me or my longtime friend Kevin. Exclamation point
Kermit.
question.
Kermit was just dancing.
Yeah, so that's the alert we get when there's a subscription. We get little Kermit dancing.
How many subscribers do you have now?
Well, so the word subscribers is a very interesting word because subscribers are paid subscriptions, which is kind of like VIP subscription.
Got it.
But a regular subscriber, as you would know it from YouTube or anything else, would actually be considered a follower. And
Got it.
As of the moment, the Sandwich Show has 1185, which
So go back to Tony's question. You are the most popular person I follow now because I'm one of your followers.
well,
aren't
thank
I?
you.
I think I am.
Listen,
I did it
it's really cool to. It is like I said. I think we already went into this in a previous show, but it's still wild to me the idea that I have followers. Like we've never come close to this. Like this. Like we've had the podcast for a long time. I don't think we've ever had anything like that.
speaking of, that's part of it is that you could be like you have like the Jimmy Fallon, on a lesser famous thing, but you're a nice guy. You've got some.
Multi-talented, a lot of interests.
Yeah. Well, thanks. For
That's
that.
yeah. I mean, I still don't. I've got 1,100 points here. I have no idea how to do anything with them, but I'll figure it out at some point.
it will
I'm
depend
saving
on-
it for something special.
It depends on if you like Sticks or not. Like if you're a fan, but
Sticks the group.
mhm.
I would say I'm.
Firmly not a fan.
Well, that's fine. Let's not elaborate. It is really fun, the music, though.
But feel free to ask music questions, fellas, because that's
Oh,
one
yeah,
of the other
definitely.
ones.
Exclamation point question and followed by the question of yourself. Kevin is a really great music savant. Although I would say that the two of us have different music tastes, so we
That's yeah.
that's saying to say the least. I think to say. But definitely I know what I can say is you have great taste in music. Like I've never really heard a band that you've mentioned during our over like a dozen years talking to each other, and I've said, man, that group stinks. Like that's never happened. Like I don't think I've not even one. Like, maybe one like, okay, I don't really get it, but like it doesn't mean that they're bad,
Yeah. Oh, of course. Music is very, very personal and subjective.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't. That's why people are like, "Oh, this is the greatest band of all time." Well, it's your favorite band of all time. I don't know if it's technically the. How can you do that? Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think if I have a really crappy band that I love. Like we've
got a crappy band.
We've done these things like we've done questions before in the past. Like I think even Andy would ask something like, "What's like the guilty pleasure?" Like either Tommy or Andy back in the day. We did a long one on. They said like, "What's the band that comes on the radio where you turn it up, you turn the volume up, and you close the windows too, so no one."
Do you remember that? Yeah, I do. I think you did that with what's it called? Hootie and the Blowfish. Yeah.
That's exactly your memory is amazing.
Right? Yeah.
That's exactly who it was
because I was like, there was that one album that was like,
you had the tape.
Turn it up, and you go through kind of like your old neighborhood, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, let's roll the windows up too. Pretend I have air conditioning in the car or something.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
I wouldn't say I've never seen I wouldn't say I'm a fan. I've never seen them live or I don't even think I bought the album. It was just on the radio,
Oh, I thought you had the tape
it's like,
for some reason. Oh, it was on the radio. Okay.
No, I've never spent actual money on them.
Okay.
I'm very particular about who I'll actually spend money on.
It tracks. It tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do want to kind of just break down. So Tony, let me go do this for you. Oh, that's a great question. Like I will get that in a second, but Tony, I got this for you first. All right, Tony. I barely met you. How can I roast you? Boom, roasted. But thank you so much for the redeem. I appreciate you very much. Could you roast someone that you barely met? Like, have you ever tried that?
You mean like one of those Comedy Central roasts or Gene Martin roasts? Yeah, I'm sure those guys weren't all buddies. They would go at.
No,
You have
but
to
but,
know.
but what if you met someone like a week ago and you tried to roast them? Like, could you do that?
You have to know a lot
You
about them in a
definitely
short
have.
amount.
I
You'd have
agree.
to have like hung out with them in person and like seen them interact with other
Yeah.
people, or maybe like what kind of clothes they wear, if they got a weird tooth or
Yeah, that's my thought
tattoo
too.
or something.
But Tony has really been great to us so far in the young history of our friend Tony's being part of the Sam fam. So thank you so much for
Okay,
the
yeah. Well,
for the
he's
game.
got. I'd say he's probably. You need a couple, maybe like couple of months. I mean, no offense, Tony. I don't think I've even been roasted, and it's been. I mean, I guess if you put all the comments from wise asses that listen to your show or call in, and you combine them, I've
Yeah,
been roasted. But I don't think there's been like a roast. We could have had a roast if I died. You could have had like a that time back in 2007. You could have had them all together, and you guys could have
that
been
would have
like,
been that would have been sad. I would not have
you'd have been
allowed.
like,
I
"That's
would
the
never have
guy."
allowed. That would have. I could not have allowed that. That would
But
have
in
been.
a fun way. You could have
Oh,
like
I
had a
see.
GoFundMe thing on for like for my wife or something, and
I
at the
think it
same
would have
time like
happened. I don't think I
do a
would have
joke
organized
and
it, but I
donate
think
$10 because
you know our buddies like they would have definitely there would have been some version of that for sure. You know.
like we're flying we're do the GoFundMe to fly Dave out so he could do the eulogy.
I mean, yeah, I would relish that opportunity. My goodness, I'd have so much to say. Like, you have such a great legacy. Like that, what you can do without the resources that, in some cases, without resources. Like we meant, you know, like remember remember that long, like thing that Ron in New Jersey used to say about you. It was like, this is a guy with no cell phone, no internet, no TV, and he can pull ass or whatever he said about like your dating ability. Like that was just like one of the greatest lines in the history of the show. It was really funny.
Oh God, when that I don't know. I don't remember that word for word, but you have I mean, I think I have a good memory. Your memory is amazing.
I recorded it, I think, at
I
one
rem
point.
yeah, I remember him saying something where I was like, "Wow, I think he nailed it." I've always tried to describe myself, and that was better than anything I could have done.
Hmm.
I don't remember what year that was, but
Yeah, same. I don't remember what year it was either, but
those
just
guys come up with some good stuff, man.
I
You
know.
and you certainly kind of collected the best of the best too, with like Ron and John and
Oh yeah,
Andy. You know, like
Tommy. He
yeah.
had ACQ for a while. You know,
Yeah,
Mike.
he's terrific. He did some of those movie things with us. Like
Those movies, yeah, those
uh
movie spots were epic. Like do you remember like the when we had that conversation about Movie Pass back in the day? That
yeah.
that was a good time.
Yeah, and I've always said that about you too. Like you found the people like you found like their sort of expertise in it.
Yeah,
Chris Coyne, man, with the television and movies. I mean, holy cow.
yeah, yeah. He was definitely exceptional and still is. I mean, I'm not saying he's not
Yeah.
now, but he still is. But you know, it's I was such a blessing. But you know, it's definitely something to that. Like we've just getting to know all of you. You know, in the old Sandwich Sports podcast days. You know, and if you guys are looking for some old episodes of that show, you can find it on YouTube. Just look for at Sandwich Sports on YouTube, and you can go back and watch all the old shows we used to do. Not all of them, but like the ones that were on video. So they covered a lot of them. Like we had our Seinfeld episode was on there. So like that was a really great show. Like we did that with Jared.
I got smoked in that thing.
Yeah, but it makes sense though. Like Jerry and Lou were obsessed with that show compared to like the two of
Yeah,
us.
and there also uh, I was obsessed as well, but I was removed. They were like in it at the time where I'm older than them
Yeah,
by like
yeah.
probably they're your age, I think.
There's definitely a difference. Well, they're younger than me, but not by a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, actually, yeah. I think.
You're 40 this year, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm actually at 41 in a few months.
Oh, really?
Isn't that crazy? Where does the
When's your
time
birthday?
go? When I started the podcast, I was in my 20s.
When your birthday is in March?
May
May what?
May 23rd.
Oh, did I know that? Because that's my sister's birthday. I feel like I knew that.
It's also Say Hello to Otis's birthday. Like one of our old friends from the MikeFrancesa.com world is.
It's also day before Bob Dylan's birthday.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
May 24th, 1941.
It's funny how you learn things even after all these years. So question, what is yours? What is my? Oh. So Tony has the next question, which is what is each of your guys' favorite song? Mine is easy to answer because I always stick by the same song. But Kev, I'll go to you first.
Is
What's
it?
your favorite song?
Do you want to get your ABBA song out of the way?
It's not ABBA. I love
Is it
ABBA, but it's not.
Toto?
It's not ABBA. It's not. It's not ABBA.
Is it Toto?
It's not. It's not Toto.
Oh,
I love it. Keep it going. I mean, you're getting.
I was gonna go from that to like Bee Gees or
Hey, listen, Bee Gees are pretty amazing. Like you got to give them. You got to give it to them. Like they have been, been doing music at a high level for a long time. Like the Bee Gees are terrific. Like there's no shading in the Bee Gees. But anyway,
so the question is what is my favorite song? Okay, well I have two. I have two there. I would say they're tied. They're the only two songs that when they're played, I like everything else stops. Like if I'm working, I have to stop, or if I'm walking around the house, I sit down or whatever, listen. And now my 4-year-old is the same way. Like if it comes on, whatever I have, like Sirius on or whatever, he'll run in to tell me one of these two songs. If either of these two songs on, and first one is "Like a Rolling Stone," Bob Dylan song,
classic.
which I still contend is the greatest 6 minutes in rock and roll history. And the second one, and it might be I might, if I had to, as they would say, put a gun to your head, I would probably pick this as my favorite, even though I think "Like Rolling Stone" is the greatest song that's ever made. But "The Wait," which is by the band,
oh my gosh, that's a great song. Holy cow!
probably is, I would say, is my favorite song.
Mhm.
And it's the song that like it'll come on, especially like if you hear from the beginning, you hear like that, the kind of right when the drums kick in after like 10 seconds in or something, and Levon starts to sing. That one almost makes me. I almost have to sit down for some reason. It's like it's and yeah, it's fun. There's like a lot of stuff in it. It's a cool story. The musicians, and I really love the chorus when they all sort of kind of back each other up with their voices. I always love
Oh
bands
yeah,
like that.
they go.
Yeah,
It's so good.
it's like it's
So
kind
good.
of like it's kind of like brothers or best friends.
Hmm.
I obviously take these things a little too deeper, but I always feel like that's like a your buddy's got your back, or that part of it, even though it's probably the least part people talk about. They talk about the drums and the lyrics and Garth's, but overall, from first note to last note, "The Wait" is my favorite song.
That's a that is a great song. Like, definitely an iconic song. Like, I love seeing other people perform that song too. Looks how good it is. It's like, it really makes you happy. Like, you hear,
It,
right?
it's a good one, and it's a good one for like ensembles. You always see those
Yes.
like people like to come do encores, and it's like, well, it's, at like a festival, and they invite all these other people on, and like that's a classic one because everyone knows it, and then they can all take a verse.
It's so cool. That's so cool. Let's go with some more questions. Oh no, I didn't answer the question. So my favorite song, and I said it about it many times to many people. It's "Don't You
Donna
Forget."
Summer.
What's that? No,
No.
it's not "Staying Alive." It's not "Mamma Mia." It's
All right, what is it? Which Mamma Mia, which by the way, my wife now has my kids dancing to that one every night for like their little dance party.
you must love
You
that.
love that.
You must love that.
Yeah, I'm in the kitchen. I'm in the kitchen, like cleaning up after everything, and I'm like, oh dear Lord.
Kev, you will grow to love it. You will grow to love it. It's
So
only
I
a
go in
matter
there.
of time.
I go in there right at the end, and I'm like, we're not ending on that, and I'll put like a Tom Waits song on to just change the whole mood of the room.
Well, you want people to be happy.
I
Tom
do want
Waits
people
is
to be happy.
depressing. I like
God's
Tom
away
Waits.
on
I'm a big
business.
fan, but just saying, like, it's such a 180 from ABBA.
Yeah, it's the idea.
Anyway, my favorite song is "Don't You Forget About Me" by Simple Minds, which is just like the perfect pop song. It's perfect length. It's such a groove. Like it's all killer no filler, and just a really great song. And it's one of those songs where like you can hear it a million times, you'll never get tired of it, and that's hard because like you hear any other song a million times, you're like, oh god, I'm sick of this song, even if it's a song you like, you know.
There was a thing forever, right, on the radio, or even like your friends would always say, that's played out. Like when we were kids, that would be like a thing. Like even the great, like you just said, like a song that was number one on
Mhm.
MTV's, whatever that thing was.
Mhm.
You'd get to the point where like,
yeah, that's played out. I don't want to hear that anymore, even though you love it. And that
I agree. I don't think I ever thought about saying that to that song.
Yeah.
And
that song sneaks up on you too.
It
Like,
does. Yeah, absolutely.
you're like just
we listen to the Spectrum, which is a serious channel because
Mhm.
it's kind of like a range of stuff, so it kind of pleases everyone. But I bounce around to some of the other ones. But every once in a while, yeah, that will come on, or you'll hear it somewhere else, and you're like, you definitely don't turn the channel.
that's a good one.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Yeah.
I think I knew that about you.
But
I think I said it before, even on like on the show I've said it, but it's terrific. Like it's it really is. It really is. Let's continue. Let's see the next question. What is your favorite music artist and category? Well, Kevin is I can just answer the question for you cuz like it's clearly Bob Dylan, your favorite artist by a mile. And
yeah, I mean, music. You could say that music artist for sure, but
I'd say he's my favorite artist. Period.
right, oh yeah, that's true.
And writing anything. It's not as far as a creative person
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah. But what do you, if you talk about your genre of music, like what's your genre of music? Is it as simple as classic rock, or do you want to go a little bit more like acute with that? Like, do you want to go folk rock? Do you want to go, do you want to go?
Um, uh, I guess like if I had to deep down, like what gets me the most, I don't even know if this. It's probably if you just call it like rock and roll, but like whenever we're
I mean, like if not a funk or whatever, but if we're downstairs or on the weekend or something, and there's listening to songs, then we're listening to kids' songs and stuff. I inevitably will say, I need to hear screaming guitars at some point, and not like obnoxious guitars, but just let's say for example, even if it's stuff like Nirvana songs or um Hendrix, or I guess those are. I mean, I think it's just really rock and roll. I love the non like famous Rolling Stone stuff, like the early stuff.
Pre 1967 Stones is awesome. I
Yeah,
love it.
just like those
Big fan.
totally like you let on it's like deep tracks, and you're like, what is this? What is this unbelievable like R&B song? I love the blues, like Chuck Berry, all that kind of stuff. Um, it's kind of has to have a guitar basis to it. Like even like Jack White. I love Jack White.
As far as like a newer person, I know he's probably 50 years old, but like
And that stuff can get loud.
um, and I don't know. And I was,
And you know me too. Like I love the Grateful Dead. The Grateful Dead is probably one of my like top three,
Absolutely.
but they're
Yeah.
not like
screaming at you. So yeah, I don't have I mean there's rock and roll with all the simple little subsets, but which basically came from blues anyway. So um that and then I can listen. I'm not as like you, but I can listen to just the crooners too, like Sam Cooke and Marvin Gaye and
all that kind of stuff too. Motown.
Mhm.
So
I don't think I can pick just a specific kind of music. Um,
there's stuff that I hate, but
No,
mean,
it's fine. It's
not gonna
it's
do
it's
that.
very interesting that, but I think you've basically kind of you've kind of reached around the idea of like rock music being your thing. But you're talking
Yeah.
about, but there's a different specific kind of rock music that you're talking about, though. Like I don't think you'd be a fan of metal per se, right? Or
no, but I
grunge.
mean, I loved Alice in Chains, and
I did
that
love
was my
Alice in
favorite
Chains.
band from that time
That's
period.
good, yeah.
And but
like
like
I don't listen to Pearl Jam at all, So it's I kind of sort of, and then Neil Young, I mean,
who's done every sort of thing is
Right.
in my top 3 or
Mhm.
5, whatever.
Cool. Yeah, that's really good. Thank you for your sharing that with us. That's really good. And we have this next. Tony's been asking a whole run of questions. So if anybody else would like to add to that, feel free. Exclamation point question followed by the question itself. We'd love to take your questions tonight. And we're off to a great start. So thank you so much. And Kev, just to give me an idea, like how long would you like to go tonight with the random questions?
Oh, what was your plan? I thought I saw somewhere you said you're doing piano tunes at some point. I don't want to bust into
Okay.
your piano man.
I mean,
When is the piano man coming?
I don't play piano, man. That would annoy people, I think, at this
No,
point.
you are the
piano man.
Oh, I am the piano. Can you? I can't. Did you see me doing this? when we, over the years, did you see this coming? I didn't see this
No,
coming. I didn't. It's
I
kind of.
mean you can be pretty goofy but
So like the singing and the borking and stuff, which is hysterical.
Mhm.
That's great. But no, I
Yeah.
didn't even know you had a keyboard.
Yeah, it's wild. Like, so this is gonna be a long story. So let's answer these couple questions first, and we'll get to that after. But favorite can sandwich for me is the Rachel, which is a pastrami Reuben. Kev, what's your favorite sandwich?
My favorite sandwich. So I actually I have a specific
sandwich in a specific place,
Ooh,
which is my favorite.
um, and it's called the Sandwichery, if you can believe the simple name. And it's a sandwich shop in
And I'm not like a fancy guy. Dave can tell you all this, but it's in South Beach.
you're in.
But it's not like
Wow,
I was
South
hanging out.
Beach.
It's not like I was hanging out with like Jerry and all those guys.
at the clubs and stuff.
I was working there,
Right.
And I was eating. I wasn't eating meat at the time, and I was trying to find a place that had like a veggie sandwich or something. And it was like down this side street, but it was mobbed
with people. And I told my wife, I was like, "Let's go there."
and they just had this kind of hummus veggies thing, which was the bread was amazing. It sounds so
Lame and simple, but it was this like
hummus and veggie sandwich from this place in South Beach, and for some reason it's probably because it's
warm. And I live in New England, and I hate
the cold, and I'm stuck in here. But yeah, I was never a huge sandwich. Like drove someplace for those cheesesteaks in college were really good, but no, this was the one. This one still sticks with me. I still bring it up.
I bring it up all the time to my wife. I'm like, whenever she's like, "Hey, I'm coming home from work. Do you want me to pick you up something?" I'm like, "Yeah." Can you go to the sandwichery in South Beach and get me that sandwich again? Even that, I'm not
Back eating meat again. It's like
I still want that one.
Sandwichery. I love it. It's just funny. Like I think if you gave me like 1,000 guesses, I would never have come up with South Beach as the location for your
Yeah,
favorite.
there was
sandwich.
this like French lady who
Yeah.
worked there who was obnoxious and like tough, but she was sweet at the end. Like she was, because she was running the line. It was
Yeah.
this tiny little place, and they were turning out sandwich after. That was the same place that we saw that lunatic from Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives.
Guy Fieri. Yeah.
Yeah, with his little bleach.
blonde hair, and I was down there I was some festival like South Beach Food and Wine Festival or something.
Pretty cool. I love it. I gotta go.
We were not clubbing. We were
no
not
clubbing.
clubbing.
No
Right?
clubbing for Kevin.
We had the Cody was like one or something at the time. So
We were staying
I
right
figured
on
that would have
right
been
on
pretty
the,
recent. Yeah, because like it would,
the main we were staying on the main drag, but we
Okay.
were in bed at 9 o'clock.
So this was during a vacation, even, or maybe during a
Mm.
stint. Maybe like
we
'cause
actually
I
took
know
a vacation.
We were on
Oh.
vacation somewhere in Florida, and an event for my wife's company. The people who were supposed to run it,
Quit like the day before,
Oh my gosh! Wow.
and she's like, "Do you want to go to South Beach?" And work, meaning I would have to work it.
I was like, okay, because she's still nursing, and he was really little, and it was a South Beach Food and Wine Festival, it's called, and it was like all those Food Network people there, and the place was jammed, and it was February,
Right before everything got locked down. So it was that was that
Yeah.
recent.
so it was 2020, so 20,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Because
pretty.
we flew back and people were just starting. Like my cousin and his daughter were flying down for a different reason, and she wore a mask on the plane. And I was like, "Oh, that's weird." Like was just starting. Things where people were talking about things in
China happening, and you're like, oh, okay, and now it's in
Italy. It was like in Italy at the time.
we obviously didn't think anything of it, but of course
We were sick as dogs when we came home, so we were like, maybe we got. I mean, I was at
It
a
might
festival.
have. Yeah, I think we.
I was at a festival with 60,000 people. Like people were drinking. I was talking to all these people. So
Yeah, I feel like you did. But I think we talked about this at one. But like not.
I was laying on the floor.
floor of the bathroom for 3 nights. So
We talked about that part. I don't remember the part about you being about the actual trip though. That sounds really. Well, maybe I think I do remember you being in Florida at one point. I didn't realize that was the same trip. Yeah.
and my cousin, we saw he was down there.
Yeah.
He's like big shot for.
Mhm.
He was like financing these
purchases of cruise ships. So he was on these cruise ships with all these other random
Mhm.
people, and then he came out to dinner with us and lunch and stuff. And so, yeah,
It's pretty nuts, but a really great. But there was a great story in there, like about this sandwichery spot. It sounds really
oh,
great.
I could have just put this up for the wait.
Oh, there you go. Oh my gosh, rest in peace, Levon Helm.
There's my guy.
Holy shit, that's great. That's great to have a cup for him. I didn't even know that they made cups for Levon Helm.
Somebody, no, someone made this for me.
Oh,
I don't. I mean, I don't know if I don't think they made this one for me. Like they made some of these and they sent me one. I don't
oh,
think
okay, okay.
it's probably one in a small. I don't know if there's like a. It was a guy I met at one of the hotels I was helping
Hmm.
run, and I was just talking to him at checkout, and he was a musician, and we started talking about basically we were having like a random conversation about music,
Yeah,
and he sent me this in the mail like a month later.
that's so. No, that's really nice of him. Wow, that's really great. That's a great mug. If if you do come upon like a merch link for that, like, send it to us. I'll post it in Discord. That'd be really. I think I'll bet you more than one person would be interested in it.
It's a cool one.
Yeah.
And this side, this is my favorite part of the story is the quote. Is ain't in it for my health, which is
It's rock and roll.
from the Levon's. They did a
Documentary on Levon. I think it was as he had cancer again. He wasn't dead, obviously, but and he's telling Larry Campbell, who was one of my all their all time favorite guitar players, is telling a story and about Levon and Robbie talk, when they're breaking up and the last waltz was happening and everything. And Robbie's like, Levon, we gotta call it quits. Richard's drunk every night and Rick's using heroin and you're not healthy and my wife wants to leave me and Rick's smashing cars every night and if we keep doing this, it's going to be a real problem. And Levon looks at him and says, Robbie, I'm not in this for my health. He's like, I want to be, I've always wanted to be a rock and roll, star. I'm not in this to be healthy. So,
Well, it wound up being a pretty accurate comment, I have to say. So pretty cool. I mean, bad health is not cool, but you get it. Like that's rock and roll in a nutshell. Like you risk so much of yourself for the sake of being a rock and roller, and that's kind of like what it's all about.
yeah,
you
we've
know?
talked about that. We've talked about that in many years past.
Yeah.
Like, would people like Hendrix and Jim Morrison, all them, would we even gotten what
they had without the other stuff.
We have
With the
talked about
Stones,
that.
would Keith Richards have come up with all those unbelievable riffs if it wasn't for his
Yeah,
habits?
yeah. No,
If he was just
it's a good question.
going to the library every day and getting into bed by 8? Would Clapton just be wreck crushing everyone since like
Do
1965?
you think that there has been an artist who has been really prolific
Yes.
with that routine?
absolutely. Well, there's a few isn't Frank Zappa like very famously like clean and sober?
Frank Zappa's
I mean, I don't know.
Frank
I don't know
Zappa's
his.
kind of interesting. Like, yeah, he's technically he's technically actually really.
I
really
feel like
good.
I remember him like Lowell George, who went on to star
Yeah.
Little Feat, was in Frank Zappa's band and kind of he kicked him out for like smoking weed or something.
Mhm.
I think I remember hearing that story.
Right, who
I
kicked
think
who out?
Zappa kicked Lowell George out of
Oh yeah, okay, that would track. Yeah,
the Mothers, and I feel like there's a few other. There's not many.
It
And
can't be
obviously
that-
people have
yeah, I was
gotten
gonna say.
sober after. People have gotten clean later, and their music
No,
has
right.
suffered
That's
for
not
it.
really what I mean. Like I just mean like in the process of making their music in their prime. So that's kind of the thought. So
Yeah, I think
he's the only one that sticks out for me. I mean, I'm sure. I
Yeah.
think I've always heard that Alice Cooper.
despite his reputation, was pretty straight and narrow.
Mhm.
But
Okay.
I don't know enough about that kind of music. or
I
that kind of person.
couldn't tell you about the Alice Cooper discography either. It is what I know of it is pretty good, so I have no real opinion. So let's get this one more question from Tony. Do you
Yeah.
know the meme "Put it in reverse tear"?
Put it in reverse, like driving.
As Dave can attest to, I almost know no memes. So there's a 99% chance I have no idea what we're talking about. I'm not even sure what a meme is, to be honest with you.
At least you said the name right. Some people say meme.
That was, well, I remember, only reason I know it is because Tommy used to butcher it.
Right.
I would say is a meme just it's like an internet, is it internet, like a viral, something viral, or
No, it's just like a joke that kind of that operates on
can you
its
give me an
own.
example of one?
Um,
Is it like
Everything is fine, and then you have like flames all around you. That's a meme.
oh, okay.
So that's like the dog, the cartoon dog, and then like the whole office is on fire, and then he says everything is fine. That's a meme.
Okay.
So I don't know the put it in reverse,
How
Tyler.
about like the little baby with a fist like this? That's a meme.
What about was that like remember that one where there was I always saw a picture of the kid like in the Boston Red Sox outfit with his middle finger up. I was like he was
That's
like
a meme.
four.
Yeah, that's a meme too. Yeah, see there you go.
Okay, yeah, I
You
remember
got
that was
one.
forever ago. That was like
Yeah,
forever ago.
yeah. So that's a meme in general. It's like it's like a phrase or a photo that kind of just gets that becomes like a running joke with a lot of people on the internet. So
Got
that's
it.
the idea. Yeah. So you've definitely picked up on a couple of them. So now with the question queue empty, please go. We'd love to invite you all to ask some more questions. Exclamation point question followed by your question in the chat. Love to ask us anything. We've done a great job so far, Tony and other people. We'll go from there. But first, I'd like to share the story of how I got into music. And I think the attribution is strictly to Twitch. And I think since being on this platform, I've learned that it is possible to play and entertain people on this on stream, and it's been kind of amazing. So I've been kind of like looking at how people play music, and then I've looked at they would talk about like charting chords, like what does that mean? So I looked it up. I'm like, it's basically just like lyrics, and you put like the chord that it is over certain words so that you know when to play them. So that's what guitar tabs are like. Um, and from there, I practiced, and I don't know how it happened, but in like 2 years, I got to be pretty competent at playing piano. I was playing this in the beginning, like the Raid song, for example, like. So that whole thing, and that was just because like I didn't want to get DMCA copyrighted violations. So like because if you know on the podcast, Pet Cat, remember how like I would just drop like actual songs, like I would go to
Yeah.
break and play actual music.
Oh yeah, I would used to request stuff all in advance. That was the
Yeah.
best.
So I knew that when I went to Twitch, I couldn't do that anymore because so I had to learn how to play really basic stuff. For example, when it's time for sandwich, I think I do this kind of like that.
Nice.
That's
It's sort of like a hockey, like at a hockey arena or something.
yes, very much so. That was the
Like
idea. Like
it's a very very cool like that.
yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, you got the idea. So that was sort of the goal. Like I wanted to like be good enough to be able to improvise certain stuff to
Yeah.
create music during the talk shows we were doing. We still do, the sandwich shows that we do. But then it just kind of expanded. I'm like, well, I've always wanted to learn how to play this song or this song or that song or that song, and now, I mean, I don't know. It seems like it's going pretty well. Like I tried. It's very scary to try to stream music because you know other people do it at such a good level, and then like you try it and you're like, man, I don't want to make an ass of myself doing this. But people were very supportive, and since then it's been really great. So it's just a lot of practice and just like getting to know how things work and like learning music theory without really knowing what it is. Like basically, like do you know the difference between like a D and a D7 or a D major 7 or how about a D6? Like I know what that means now because it's just where you put that seventh note or that fourth note. So I've learned a lot of music in like 2 years, and it's like
That's really cool.
it's I can't it absolutely is really cool, and it's just like I think because of it I've just gotten better. I really want to thank you for your support of all this. Like I just didn't know. Like I didn't know that I could do that. And I guess it just happened. But I'm lucky.
I think I did push you a little bit.
You did, yeah, definitely. I remember you were talking
Yeah.
about, yeah, I remember this, yeah. and it means a lot. Like honestly, like thank you for that. Like,
There is somewhere, folks. There, I'm sure there's some in our archive somewhere. There is a clip of drunk me and Dave. Well, I wasn't drunk, but drinking me and Dave singing Randy Newman, "I Love L.A."
yeah,
which
I
was
think
one of
Andy
my
joined in on that
favorites.
one. I think Andy joined in on this. Like he's like,
It's
I love it,
possible.
I love it. no, it's
Yeah, I think he came in. Yeah, he was on it. That was a good one.
yeah.
There was a lot of LA themes. Most of my requests were LA theme
West
songs
LA
because I
Fadeaway was like one of your favorite songs.
West LA Faye was my
Yeah,
favorite. That was my
yeah.
if I had anything approaching intro music, that was it. That was the point where I was like convinced that we were going to move to California. I was like, we had gone there, and I'm like, oh my God, it's 75 degrees here all the time. There's like the most unbelievable food. But
Yeah.
I didn't have $1 million to throw down on a house at the time, so
They didn't have $1 million. If I had $1 million. You remember that song? Do you remember the
I
Bare Naked?
I do. My brother liked
Nice.
Bare Naked Ladies. My now wife was a fan. I never thought Hootie like Hootie. I never owned anything from them, but I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't turn. I saw. I've actually seen them live. I didn't pay. They actually of all places they showed up at a Farm Aid because I used to go to Farm Aid all the
Oh
time,
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. I
and
remember this. Yeah.
it was it was pretty wild. They do a lot of like kitschy kind of skits live that you they do like they did like a Farm Aid rap song. They're all dressed the same, like kind of like the Beatles. It was pretty silly. But those guys have amazing voices.
There's no doubt. Yeah, you were very you really lucked out. That's really cool. Like getting to see the Bare Naked Ladies. Like they're fun.
Yeah, yeah. It was there was some Farm Aid is wild because you'll get
Hmm.
during the day you can get some hit or miss things. But I haven't gone last couple of years, but I went probably to I don't know. I could look it up when the Bare Naked Ladies played there, but that was I think the first one I went to, and then straight up until Cody was born, so 2018, something like that, 17, 17, 18. Right.
I just say this, Kev. Like you have seen more people in person than I think anyone I know, and it's really commendable that you have been able to do that, to have the wherewithal to do so, to be in the right place at the right time, but also have the initiative to do it. I think that speaks to your adventurous nature. And I think it's really great that you've got
I
to.
love live music. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it started out small, like, and it's in a short amount of time. Like, I would go to random ones when I was little, and then when I had any money at all in college, I would take the train into the New York City and
Hmm.
Blues Traveler. If people remember them, they were like the first band that I was like into before they were famous. Like going to clubs and you know 300 person places and like I mean, 90 was it 95 maybe or something 94, so there wasn't like the internet or anything, so you would like get their newsletter and it was like the concert their they would like mail you a thing where they were going to play, and then eventually you figured it out and you knew they'd always play it. They call it the sweat glands, or it was called the wetlands in the city. Oh, 'cause it
Hmm.
was so freaking hot. And then just like clubs, and then then they sort of made it big. I remember then seeing them like 3 years later at Madison Square Garden on like New Year's Eve, like sold out, and but yeah, I called them early. I like I was the Black Crows pretty early on with them too, and then but then the late '90s, I think '99 was when Dylan took over, and I started like I just went just super dove insanely deep. I had seen random bands. I used to go to a lot of festivals in the '90s, so that's when you got to see a lot of people. Where you could see like Blues Traveler, Dave Matthews, Fish, and the Black Crows all on one festival, and Joan Osborne, all these other people back then, and Rusted Root, and those kind of bands. We used to follow them around, and then yeah, then Dylan got 99, 2000. I think I spent about 10 or 12 years where I basically would go to 10 of his shows a year, or
10.
sprinkle in like some Neil Young
Wow.
and some
Yeah,
some
yeah.
other stuff, but basically from like 99 to I think 2012 or 11, it was all Dylan all the time. It was not. It was just I would just get in, like, where I live in New York. I mean, or when I where I did live, because you visited. So I would, like, for example, I would be like, oh, he's playing Penn State. I would get a ticket and just drive 7 hours and then go to the show and then drive back and go to work. Like those kind of ridiculous things where most of my friends were like following Fish around or doing other stuff or like just working and
Yeah.
getting jobs and doing that. I had a job, but um and then yeah, farm aides and uh but yeah, kids I've certainly we I was going to shows right up until Cody was born. I had gotten my wife into going to shows and um I mean she was pregnant. The last farm aid we went to was September and Cody was born October. It was September like 22nd. Oh, Cody was born October 7th. So I mean he was in the we were in like the eighth row at that one where Neil was just screaming, pissed off at Donald Trump. So he was playing angry that day. And my wife was even like, "This is a little bit much, for being 8.5 months pregnant." And I'm like, "No, Cody needs to hear this." Um, and then I'm like, "Don't worry, Willie Nelson will come out soon and calm everybody down."
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, and yeah, I had to see some people like open for Dylan. So I saw I didn't. It wasn't just him, but yeah, that was it for a while. But
Wow.
yeah, there's always been other ones sprinkled in.
Well, it's a great legacy. Like you can look back on that and say, "Wow, I really did all that." Like it's really great. Like I remember you mentioned, I don't remember, was it the Felt Forum? Where were you at when you saw Dylan in New York that one time? You told me the story on a previous show. Like it was really good, and you talked.
Uh, well, I've seen him in a few places, but I mean, I've seen the Garden after there's the first few. I mean, the first few were cool because it was the first few times. But there wasn't anything that memorable except for you're like, holy cow, that's really him. And then, but this first I went to this first show in the Garden after 9/11. That was cool. He notoriously doesn't say a lot during his shows, but he did a little speech about what New York kind of means to him, which everybody like was freaking out about that. And yeah, their lyric where he goes, going back to New York City, I do believe I have enough. And the place just the friggin' roof blew off, and it was about the same time George Harrison died, so he covered something which everyone freaked out about. That concert alone was was a classic. And then so I think you might be talking. There's a place called the New York City Center, which I think was originally for stage plays, and
Oh,
where
okay.
I saw him, he added on a date at the end of the year, and at the end of the tour in November, I went down with two of my friends, and that was like it was the weirdest thing because there was like bars in the lobby with like really fancy drinks and we started my friend came out from like the bathroom. He's like, "Hey, I just saw Elvis Costello." And I was like, "Yeah, I just saw Alan Toussaint." And then his girlfriend comes over and she's like, "I just saw James Spader and Gina Gershon." I'm like, "What are all these famous people doing here?" And even more actually, I think the real was like, "What are we doing here with all these famous people?" And it was like I think it was like a industry thing, and that I just lucked out to because I was like on the mailing list or the newsletter and found out about this show that they added on because there was just people everywhere. And I'm like, people like you recognize, but weren't really sure. But
Hmm.
I remember um, that was a classic one. And that one, I almost never went again. Like that night was so good. It was with two of my really good friends. And Dylan was so on. And I remember going back on the train going, I don't think it's going to get better than that. I think I'm done. I think it was 2012. I could look up the set list and that kind of stuff. But I was like, I think I'm done. I think that was as best as it's ever going to get. And then, of course, it didn't end because my wife got me tickets to. We went to the Beacon in 2019. My brother and I, which was also just jaw dropping. 79, 78-year-old guy just making the the Beacon just silent. Um, he was doing this the small places. He's able to literally control the entire crowd. Like he can he can literally get anyone up, which you think is like, oh, he's not. But he's got a few tunes where you can't sit still, and he was just playing with everybody, putting them up and down, up and down. Um, there was and the same thing. There was like all these famous people in the front row. It was like Scorsese and Little Steven, and I think they tried to because Dylan doesn't really allow any recording or photographs. And at one point, Little Steven, like I think he kind of stood up and tried to take a picture of the show, and one of the ushers was like, "Yeah, you got to go," and they were like, "Hey, you know who this guy is?" or something like that, and that was kind of funny. But yeah, but then he can reduce you to a puddle of tears, like 2 songs after he had you for a guy who's now 80. I think he's 80. 19. What I said 1941, so he turns 82 this year. That's insane.
It is, although it's funny, like 82 for as long as I've known about him, still doesn't seem quite that old, but it is old. Like it's a great life. Holy,
it is old, especially when you've been famous since you were 19.
Right.
Or not, I mean,
Yeah.
he wasn't huge at 19, but he was in New York. 1961 was his first album, so he was 20 years old when that first album came out. Not exactly like as famous as Elvis or somebody like that, or even some movie star you could name, but he's been in the public eye, I guess you could say, since 1961.
That's true. So think about that. 1961. How much? That's roughly 60 years ago. 62 years ago now.
Yeah, I mean
62 years ago. Wow.
20 years longer than you've been alive. He's been
most definitely. Well, as long as you've been alive.
hounded,
like the both of
hounded
us.
by
Oh, you mean in terms of the number of years? Yeah.
just in the number of years.
Yeah.
Like, some people have a couple good years. Like Counting Crows, they had a couple of good years, and then they sort of just do their own thing. And that was a huge band for a while. And but this is you said 62 years.
Yeah, 62 years. So like 62 years since he's been prominent, which means longer than you've been alive too.
Dude, so speaking of this over Christmas, with when your friends, family, mostly families around, and somebody was my brother. So my brother's, I can't know, it was my father-in-law, and he's talking about the Beatles and blah blah blah. He's 70 something, right, and all these other things. I'm like, dude. So every once in a while, I never. This is probably the most I've talked about Dylan in years, just to now, and some of the people will start egging me on. They're like, "Oh well, the Stones did this, or the Beatles did this." I'm like, "All right, first of all, enough." Dylan's one guy. You're talking about, Jagger, Richards, for the most part, Charlie Watts, and then you forget Lennon, McCartney, and George Harrison was probably as talented as the two of them. I go, it's not a really fair comparison. However, if you want to play, if you want to really get me going, which he was starting to, yeah, they were all unbelievable. The 60s was crazy. Because then when you talk to someone who's like, I lived through it, blah, 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 you're like, yeah, okay. We still have the recordings. We can, it's not like it's the 1760s. And like, yeah, they were all going back and forth. And you could say that, the Beatles were probably edged everybody out just a little, as far as that when they called it in the 70s. But 1975, Blood on the Tracks. 1989, Oh Mercy. 1994, Oh Mercy, I think I said no. Oh Mercy, 1990, was it 7 Time Out of Mind? All this other stuff. I go, so like those guys effectively stopped. And as Dave knows, my feelings for Band on the Run. That's a rough
we're
one.
not gonna go there. We're not gonna get into that tonight because I don't want to bring your mood down after we've had such a great conversation. Like
Band on the Run. I heard that the other day. So I think of you every time I hear that song. And
I think of you every time I hear that song too nowadays.
and I listened to the whole thing. I was like, I'm not going to turn it off. I've even trying to be kinder in my old age. So I listened to it and I was like, you know what struck me that had never struck me before. I still think it's trash, but it sounds like 3 songs. Like he made 3 songs. They were all shitty. And they said, you know what? There's like one good verse in each one of these songs. And he just shoved them together. And it made me even more annoyed to be like, that was you're Paul McCartney. Like, come on.
I got to tell you, I don't even think that's the worst song that he did.
No, I know.
The worst song he did was Wonderful Christmas Time. That's
Oh
just
my
like the
god.
ultimate exercise in laziness. They're like, okay, the cat is
And
up.
like I said, I think the Stones,
That
especially
is.
some of the stuff, the deep tracks on some of those things are unbelievable. They're some of the best
Hmm.
music ever, but they haven't done anything since then.
Yeah,
They can go out and sell out the world, which is awesome. And I would think,
the
that's
music's
more power
high.
to them. And they're so cool. They're some of the coolest people ever. Charlie Watts is one of the cool, but rest in peace, was one of the coolest guys. Like Ronnie Wood. I mean, think of all the stuff. Just that guy who's the least known. He was phenomenal from when he started with actually all these guys just died, right? They're starting to drop. Jeff Beck, who was a Ronnie,
Jeff
him and
Beck
Ronnie
went
Wood
like
were
a couple week or so ago, and then David Crosby like the other day, which
David
is
Crosby,
yeah,
who,
that's a
when
bummer.
you
Like that's a big one. Like he was
that's an LA guy. That's one of your LA guys, man.
yeah, he was a character. Like we're gonna miss out. We will
He
feel
was
that one.
he spoke his mind. But
Hmm.
when you freebase, for a lot of years, it's gonna come back to haunt you.
Yeah.
I mean, the man was rough on his body for a long time.
Oh, yeah, you saw it too. Like he was never in the greatest of shape, honestly. Like so, yeah.
No, once
Hmm.
and uh was never really the warmest person. But
Yeah, I got that. I
he
got that
did come
vibe too.
across.
Yeah,
Remember
I
that
definitely. Yeah,
documentary that Dylan's kid did with the Laurel Canyon, like the Laurel Canyon stuff?
that's what I remember. I'm going
He
off of like what I remember of him from that. I mean, documentary. Yeah.
that was like
Look.
David Crosby kind of softening up. Like he was still kind of he's a very cocky person. He's not Paul
Yes.
Simon, don't get me
Yes.
wrong,
Yes.
but he's very cocky, even though,
No, that
let's be
showed out
honest,
in
let's
the
be honest,
doc
he
though.
wasn't
Yeah.
Crosby only wrote like
Yeah.
11 songs in his life. It wasn't like he was, I mean, good ones.
Yeah.
But he had a great voice. I mean, obviously can't take that stuff away. And he could bring the house down. I told you I saw him in 2001, or he would get he got standing ovations during songs, like when he would do his solos, like Almost Cut My Hair. I watched Hartford Civic Center, like 10,000 people stand up during that extended kind of solo. So I mean, he could do it, and he was like I said, he was cocky. For a while, he could back it up, and then man, he had a life. Think
He
about
did.
that,
He
life
did.
well lived. I mean, he was the
Yeah.
king of Laurel Canyon for years,
Yeah. Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Him, Mama Cass, all those guys. He was the king. Nor what they say about the rest of them. He was like where everyone wanted to be. Girls, the guys, he had all the best drugs. He had all the best parties. I mean, that stuff. That was a cool time.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he's iconic in that regard. And like you look at him, and like you don't think of that, but he was like that mustache was definitely a selling point for him.
And think about those. A lot of those guys. I mean, he made it. He made it longer than obviously he
Yeah.
led Hendrix and Morrison by forever. But I mean, Tom Petty and he all those California guys.
Mhm.
He's
It's a
and
little bit of an upset in a way, right? Like if you think about like
yeah. I
yeah,
was shocked. Yeah,
yeah,
that he made it that far.
yeah, yeah.
As far as the four of them, this Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, you knew he was going to be the first one to go. I mean, he.
Is that the
I
truth
mean,
though? Is he the
liver,
first?
liver. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah, for
agree.
sure.
I do agree with that, like wholeheartedly.
and he's not the oldest either. I think Nash and Neil
I
Young
would
are the
have
oldest.
said Nash was the oldest, yeah, but I don't
Yeah,
actually
for
know.
sure.
Let me just welcome Stuart Hayek in the chat. This is really great to see you. Our
Yeah.
good friend, by the way, really great taste in music as well. Huge fan of Led Zeppelin. And Stuart says, Band on the Run was so overplayed on the radio when it came out. I know it.
Play it out. See, play it out. We were talking Stuart
Yeah.
Hake. We were talking about things getting played out,
Yeah.
even though that should have been never played. Period. But I mean,
Well, look, I think your thoughts on Paul McCartney and Paul Simon, and particularly Paul Simon, are just legendary. I love. I'm not gonna trigger you with a Paul Simon conversation tonight.
I've already been triggered recently because did you ever watch Annie Hall?
I remember the movie. Yeah, I haven't seen it though, but I know. Of
So I never watched it. I've been going through phases now where I'm reading things or watching movies or listening to albums that
Mhm.
I don't really know, but that are considered like classics that I just missed somehow. Just as my brain I just got to keep it going. I'm always worried about my brain after some of those surgeries. So I'm always trying to like keep learning and doing all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, all right, I'll watch Annie Hall. Never seen it before. Everyone says it's like one of the 20 best movies ever. Well, like 2/3 away into the movie, fucking Paul Simon shows up, and I wanted to throw a fit. I can't do that because I'm almost 50 and I
Yeah.
can't throw. And but he he obviously just played himself because he just played this pretentious douchebag where like as far he was like a movie star instead of a rock star, but it doesn't matter. Like uh like I wanted to throw up on the monitor on the screen. I didn't. I held it together. Um
So
and oh, it was
I mean
awful.
I hate to do this, but it's good content. Does Graceland like double down on his douchebaggery because he's trying to like milk the aura of South African music for his personal gain? Like, do you find that? And I'm sorry I get so heavy-handed with that comment, but I mean it's a fascinating. I mean I actually bought the album and listened to it. And like it's a fascinating album, um, but it is a little smarmy too at the same time. So it's kind
Yeah, I feel like my one takeaway, I don't know it cover to cover.
of.
I feel like Paul Simon, just in my own warped sense of him, had this sort of like, oh, I'm gonna bring this music to America. Like I
Well,
discovered it. I'm gonna bring it over. I'm gonna show
I
all of
love
these
this. I love this. Yeah,
people,
yeah.
these eh, uptight white people about this African music, and it's gonna make me seem so much hipper and because whatever. No, as Dave and I know, uh, late in the evening, which is quite possibly one of the worst songs in the history of
Oh god, it's so
recorded
bad.
music.
But that was before though. That was like several years before.
I'm saying the line in it when he I've said in arguments with people about Paul Simon, he stepped into this funky bar. Any place he's ever gone has gotten less funky when he showed up. Like, it's just it's
it
so many.
tracks.
There's so many things wrong with that song, but that one, that line, I'm like, any place that man has gone has gotten less cool, less funky, less hip.
Yeah. You know, Junkman, I gotta tell you, I think, and I think you've influenced me a little bit on this, but honestly, even without your influence, I think I would have arrived at this point anyway. I feel very similar about a lot of Paul Simon's music. I just feel like it's pretentious for pretentious sake. That's a great late in the evening, really great example. Or how about the what is it? Chicken something mother child reunion, and apparently it's inspired by a Chinese food menu. I'm like, what the fuck?
Well, yeah, it's like
What?
yeah,
What? And then like I don't know if this is a solo or if this is Simon and Garfunkel, but me and Julio got down by the schoolyard is like
I
no,
think that's solo, but yeah,
no,
the
no,
the video of what was it? The video of him and Chevy Chase. You couldn't find like they actually found an as big of a pretentious douchebag
right.
to be in a video. Like
I
you
love that.
couldn't
I love
like
that.
how could they even put those two egos in the same room? It's stunning. I would love, me, I love the behind the scenes stuff, just in general, whatever it is behind the music, storytellers, all those things people used to do. I would love just people that were on that set and
Oh, that
been like,
was a rough day.
who do you want to shoot in the face first?
That had to be a rough day for the people on the set. That had to be a rough day. I think it's well established. Those of you who are younger may not know how much of a dick Chevy Chase is. Like, I say is because like he still is. I think.
Yeah.
And just so yeah, I maybe it's because of that they got along so well because they're like dick on dick. Like maybe
They probably, yeah, there was probably no one else who would have agreed to do the there's no other musician Chevy Chase would have done that with, and there's no actor that Paul Simon would have done it with.
Yeah.
Like at this point, they probably had the same agent. They probably lived in the same douchebag building in the city.
right.
They probably both have they probably both tried to buy Yoko's flat in the Dakota just to seem cool or sound cool or oh god, those guys.
Yeah. I mean, it was a funny enough video. I kind of enjoyed the video.
I mean,
but
Fletch was cool. Don't get me wrong.
Fletch was a great movie. Vacation was a great movie. Christmas Vacation was a great movie. So no, all the
It really is.
that-
Chevy Chase. He was funny. He
yeah.
in those kind of roles. He is funny. But I mean,
Yeah, but the IRL, the behind the scenes Chevy Chase is not very savory. There are so many stories. You could get millions of stories of people talking about how much of a like pretentious dirtbag jerk that he
Yeah.
was, and the kind of the same. I'm sure if Paul Simon was very similar storyline. I think so. Anyway, um, so basically, this is all just to say that Paul Simon's mute solo work in particular is extremely overrated. Like it's just I don't know what to say, but it's
I have a
out there.
question for you, sort of based on that. But
Hmm.
do you have
a band or a group or person, maybe it's Paul Simon, that is like really famous and popular and has hits, and
And you're like,
that you're just like, I don't get it. Like
oh
this, I
yeah,
can't
yeah,
listen to this.
yeah.
Not maybe not that it's you think it's shit, but just like I can't. Like I've heard people. I know you like Queen, but like for example, or Pink Floyd, like people that has a huge fan base, but some people are just like, I can't do Pink Floyd. It's just too.
I've heard that with Pink
Uh,
Floyd, and I get it. It's just because Pink Floyd's really sophisticated music, and I kind of understand it. Like it's, I think the one thing with Pink Floyd is you cannot dance to it, which is hard for me to do. But I love Pink Floyd. That doesn't bother me. Like you think it could bother me, but it really doesn't. Like it's just really good. Like I don't think, but I understand people having that problem. Um, for me, I mean, I guess you could throw Paul Simon in there, but I'm just kind of piggybacking you at that point. So I'm gonna try to get a little bit more deeper than that. Like, it's definitely out there.
or
Uh,
even somebody newer,
somebody newer. Okay.
if you want.
Well, for a long time I didn't really understand the fuss with YouTube, but at the same time I actually get why YouTube's popular. So I don't think that's a good answer. And I don't think they're bad. I think they're good. It just wasn't my thing for a while. But I do love Bono's voice. It's like really good. Like it's really good, a distinctive voice. It's really one of a kind. So I love Bono anyway. But um, yeah, that's a hell of a question. Like I'm thinking like I've definitely had that feeling about certain bands, certain acts. Like oh, you know what? We go to this one a lot. Kiss. I never understood why they were popular. Never figured it out. Like why? They're so mediocre. It's just like I never
Mega?
understood why they
I
were.
mean, it was
Popular.
kind of like a gimmick, really, right?
Yeah, really,
For a while.
absolutely, 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 absolutely.
This one, and they're not recent because well, they're still around. So, but
I've come to the conclusion that I cannot listen to a complete Red Hot Chili Pepper song.
I can't.
Now, that's
like,
interesting.
I don't.
I'm
It
wondering
kind
where
of
that comes
crept up
from.
on me. Yeah, it kind of crept up on me, but I
Okay.
never was a fan at the time. And I think part of it is they're on all the time.
Oh yeah,
For some reason, I know they have a new.
Album or a new
Yeah,
song out or
that's
something,
true.
and maybe they're doing a tour. But I can't.
And I think it's the lead singer. That's the word. I feel like the the music is fine. Like if it was instrumental, I would probably be like, yeah, all right, I can put this on. I think it's the lead singer for some reason. I think the
Interesting.
lyrics are stupid. Um, for the most part, they're kind of dumb.
I do
But
like their music. It's pretty funky.
I have had
Yeah.
that in the past where I'm like, oh, if this person just stopped singing, this band would be really good.
I can't remember. I've had a few of those
that's out
feelings.
there too. Like there are bands where the singer is the bottleneck, and I think my best example for that. By the way, Stuart says the answer to the question of who's someone who didn't get why it was popular. You're gonna love this. His answer, and I know this because like I've known Stuart for a while now. I can't do anything by the Beatles. He cannot stand the Beatles, which is a wild one because like everybody loves the Beatles.
Anything?
I understand not liking a certain.
Couple of anything though?
He's been pretty consistent about it. He feels like the
Because
Beatles
that
are
decade had a.
It's I'm not I don't agree with that, but I think it's really interesting to have that consistency in his opinion. And the reason he feels that way, from my understanding, is because he feels like they're just a ripoff of like all the R&B music that came like the decade before. And so from those grounds, he feels like they're just a copycat band. But I keep saying, and Breddington is another one who has this who feels similarly about the Beatles. My point is, what I would say is, you have to understand where like rock music was before they got and came into existence. They kind of made that a mainstream sound, and I think that is a big reason why pop music is what it is
Well, you're
today.
saying like the early stuff was a rip off of like Chuck Berry and all and Buddy Holly and all those. Is that sort or
Yeah,
what?
that's the idea. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so
I
like,
can
so,
see that full way of thinking.
mhm.
Um, I do. I don't think I would have a hard time seeing what they ripped off of on like Revolver and um, like that stuff was.
Yeah, and that's a good point because like I was thinking like by the time you get to that and when you get to Rubber Soul, in particular when you get to like Sergeant Pepper, I'm like, well, that's kind of like their own thing at that point. But
Yeah. Um, so I could see that not being enamored with I want to hold your hand and all that kind of stuff. I saw her standing there. I love for some reason. Please, please, me still gets me. I still like that one as far as my favorite early one from them. It just
mhm.
I can't explain that one, but
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean I'm not over the top. I'm not gonna go to war with Stewart over this
yeah,
because it's not.
yeah, and
And I think you're right. And they had a great manager. They had a great producer.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
they were good looking for most part, outside of Ringo, poor guy. But
yeah,
and they hit it right. I mean, that's
right,
part of it
right.
too. They
They were,
and same thing with Elvis. I mean, came across like either the right time in the world, the country, um, the
I
the
gotta tell you,
the social culture that was going on, like the liberations that were going on, like
hmm
sexual, freedom, and all that kind of stuff.
I will tell you, I do have a pretty similar feel for Elvis. I don't get why he was that popular. Like I think, like he was exciting, sure, but I don't have like the god like adulation for him that a lot of people do. I'm like he was good.
Yeah, he
He was,
hit. Yeah, well, he hit it at that time when they were kind of everything was buttoned up outside of the blues, right? So like all the
mhm.
stuff that he took off um was Big Bill Bronzy and or was it Arthur Crudup basically, who wrote the his first hit. That was covered. What was it? That's all right, Mama. That's all right. I can't remember the exact name of it, but yeah, and he was the first sort of star. I don't know. Yeah, he didn't write his songs for the most part.
That's
He
what I
wasn't
was
a
thinking. Like
technically
he
like
didn't write
unbelievable
any of his
guitar
music,
player.
and he
He
didn't
was,
even play any
but
of the
he
guitar.
was good looking. If you look at
Yeah,
early Elvis, man, he was different. He had the long hair where everyone was wearing those like crew cut,
hmm
uh, I'm going to World Wars, and I'm you know wear the button up shirt, all the guys, and he was like the kind of greaser,
yeah.
kind of, but so
I mean,
yeah,
it's definitely
it's
a right place, right time scenario with both the Beatles and Elvis. I think
it's
everyone.
rock and roll is a lot of that too.
Yeah,
There's
that's
very
true.
very few people who like we just said Dylan's lasted 60 years, but like if like Nirvana came along in like 85, they would have been like, "What? No,
Yeah.
we're not recording this." Um,
Right. It was a good time.
so
hmm
and so yeah, there are certain people who could do probably any time. Marvin Gaye could have existed at any point, right? Or
Yeah.
and Dylan and
Yeah.
some other
Um. So, Jamie is brother. Welcome in, Jamie. Welcome. It's good to see you. Jamie's one of our mods here at the channel. Um. So Jamie lives in the Boston area, and she wants to know
nice.
what part of Cape Cod were you in? Like, what city was it at the time?
So on the Cape, I typically spent the most time in Eastham, but I lived in Wellfleet, I lived in Brewster. Uh, those are the three towns I would said I paid rent in. But Eastham was probably the longest during the I think 9 years I was out there.
Yeah,
And I think yeah,
it's a good
but
run.
Eastham they're all pretty much Brewster's sort of not middle Cape, but like the outer Cape. Eastham and Wellfleet are pretty much on the way out there, way out there.
pretty cool. And then as far as the Berkshires, is that just one neighborhood or is there a specific area
It's a
of?
county, or it's a
Oh,
region, I guess you could,
hmm.
because it does.
Bleed into the Berkshire Hills and stuff, bleeds into Connecticut and upstate New York. But Berkshire County is the furthest west county in Massachusetts.
Oh,
So
that is so you're actually closer
So we
then.
bought we bought in New York. It's like an hour from Albany,
Yeah.
Saratoga,
Okay.
and if you go down, and I'm Southern Berkshire, so like we're only 25 minutes from Connecticut, 10 minutes from New York State.
Hmm.
The as they the other tri-state area.
Yeah, it's what. Yeah, it's west. Yeah,
Yeah,
James says it's what. Yeah, that's pretty far west. Yeah. So
yeah. So I lived the furthest east in Massachusetts and the furthest west. I skipped
that's
the middle.
true. You didn't have
I
anything in
mean,
the middle.
I spent a lot of time in Boston with friends, but
Hmm.
Never actually lived there.
Yeah. James is too far inland for me. Jamie, what part would you be in? Would you be west? Would you be east? Are you in the west or are you in the like? You would probably be in the east, right? I would assume because I think I've heard things about the shore and so on. But it's quite a wild time for the people of Massachusetts as we speak. But as you mentioned, it's pretty cold. Although not that cold, which isn't. Oh, North Shore. Oh, that's right, North Shore. Yeah. So I think Andy's from North Shore, right? Isn't our friend Andy from North Shore?
back in a long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like originally, yeah, not today. He's in Seattle today, but I'd love to get. I'm gonna try to get Andy on like in a week or so, and we'll talk about that because North Shore has a specific area code I remember very well, and Andy's phone number is like would suggest he's from North Shore, so like that seems about right. Stuart says Jamie gets moved from prison to prison. Yeah,
That happens. There's a lot of them out there.
yeah, that's great. But North Shore is cool. Like there used to be a TV show on Fox called North Shore. Remember? Was it about Boston or was it about
I
Hawaii?
I don't think they ever made a TV show about the North Shore of Boston.
Okay, I
That
think
would
it
be
was
a
about
horrible
Hawaii, wasn't
TV
it?
show. No offense. You're thinking of North, it's probably North Shore in Hawaii.
Yeah, I think it's North Shore in Hawaii. I'm sorry.
I mean, I love the Boston. We were just there. We went there for 3 days around Christmas to take the kids and museums and stuff. But I don't think they would make a TV show.
That
I
would
remember they
be
did Real World Boston, and that was one of the worst ones.
yeah. The beef group is North Shore Beefs. Oh, you know what? What's really interesting? Andy and Jamie have told me about roast beef sandwiches and
By the way, 978 is definitely Andy's area code.
yeah, yeah. That's what I was thinking too. Definitely recognize that area code. So, yeah, I need to get over to Boston for that specific reason. Like people are
What
like,
the
oh,
hell is the beef group?
no, because like I don't know if that's like a sandwich shop or if that's like a meat producer, but either way, I think that's right. Like, 'cause North Shore Beefs is the name of the company, but it sounds like the roast beef. I know I shouldn't be talking to you about this. I'm sorry, but Andy has certainly mentioned it, and something I'd like to try. Do you? What is your takeaway of Boston baked beans now that you've been in Massachusetts as long as you have? Like, is it all that? Do you feel like it's worth it? Like, what's the story behind those?
I have no idea what that would be compared to anything else.
Well,
Why does it make what is
Why is it a Boston baked bean?
you would know more than I would, because that's sort of their. That's why they call it Beantown, because they have baked beans, which is
no
basically
one calls it Beantown, Dave.
no
No
one
one
calls it
from
Beantown.
Boston actually calls it Beantown. Only people from
I thought it
Hollywood,
was.
I think, call it Beantown.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I'm sure they have beans there, but I think if you walked into a bar in like Duxbury and were like, "Hey, I'm in Beantown," I think you'd probably get punched in the face.
Yeah, it would seem right. I wouldn't do. I don't like that. I don't like that nickname anyway, so I wouldn't have done that anyway. But still, I. But there's a reason why I came up with it. It's because there supposedly was a reputation for baked beans, but it's like, okay, well, it's like calling us Avocado Town, but we're not known for
Right.
just avocados in Los Angeles. We know for a lot of stuff besides avocados. Like,
Unless they did something to the baked beans. Like,
I mean, you guys have avocados.
I mean, we have avocados here too. Like, granted,
They're from where
you guys grew them, but it must just be something. You know how like
barbecue is different.
wherever you go,
mm-hmm.
they must have just put something in the. They probably put like clam
Bacon.
chowder in the baked beans.
Oh yeah, Yeah, I
Maybe
mean,
it's like
maybe.
maybe like they put honey in it and some other town puts molasses in it. Who the hell knows?
Yeah, I don't know. It's That's a tough call. I couldn't tell you. Well, I think I'll give you everybody a last call for questions. If you'd like to send a question to us, exclamation point question followed by a question. But this has been it's really good to catch up with you. I'm glad you're doing all right though.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's like um
I'm doing well, I think. I haven't had a checkup in a while, but yeah, I
hmm,
think we're doing good. Oh, check this out. You probably can't see it.
okay.
Um, or you probably can't see
I
what
can
that
kind of
is.
see it. Yeah, yeah.
That was my wife and children got me for my 6th anniversary, an actual like anatomical heart.
Oh, literally a
It's,
heart. Wow.
yeah,
Okay, I can kind of
it's
see it from
wild.
here. It is wild.
Um, I love it. Like I'm a notoriously horrible gift getter. I'm a really good gift giver.
Hmm.
So my wife is like giving up on like Christmas. She's like, just buy yourself stuff. I don't know what it is about me. I'm very particular, I guess, but she got this and she gave it to me. I was like, you destroyed it. Like you knocked it out. Like this is the coolest thing I've ever gotten in my entire life. Like,
Oh, that's
um,
great. It
and
is really cool. That is really
and
cool.
of course Cody thought it was a pineapple, and he wanted to know why I was wearing what's the significance of a
Oh yeah,
pineapple.
it does.
And
Yeah, you're not
June
familiar.
thought it was an owl. So I was like,
An
all right,
owl.
well, that's fine. She's only one.
Right. I was gonna say like it's beautiful that you have two wonderful, beautiful kids. So that's really great. Um, I love that you're exercising again. That's really great. How close? Yeah.
Yes, slowly, but I'm building up. As you know, the weather is shit right now, so that's. But I'm a quit sugar for 2023,
Wait,
which just
are you aiming towards like doing another like 5K down the road? Like, is there a training for that, or is it
oh
just
well, at 5K. I mean, you know my feast or famine personality, which got me in trouble in the first place. 5K would not be enough, so I've got to get to a point to
Oh,
do something
okay.
larger than that.
So you're
Yes,
thinking,
I would love to do that again. I get to the point where I have to. I feel like I'm at the point where I need to do this to show both of those little people that uh, that it's important to get in shape and stay in shape and treat your body well and uh, so because they'll only know me they don't know didn't know me before that before the heart stuff so
yeah.
uh, but I did made a big mistake 3 days ago and shoveled snow and that knocked me back for like 2 days made me remember what the hell I've got going on inside so
Yeah.
I take it easy the rest of the week. So
Oh, good call.
I've got my indoor bike, so I'm going to start doing that. And then again, I've been doing that. I dropped 10 pounds already this year. So
What? You've been
uh,
hiding stuff from me. That's great.
sugar, man.
I'm
That's all I
telling
did.
you.
It's
I'm right.
it's
I'm telling you.
the only thing I
It,
changed.
it, it makes such a huge difference. Huge, huge difference. Like, sugar is the enemy of all of us. Like, cutting that down,
Yeah.
you do so much for yourself. So
So I was
much.
like, I can do that, and I'm trying not to pile on too many things at once because
Hmm.
that's what I do, and I usually end up
Yeah,
quitting all of them. So I just did the sugar to start, and then
that's
I
cool.
start exercising a little bit, and then but it's funny. I'm way more active now, just running after a 1-year-old than I was at working. Like, so she's always want to like put on songs and dance around, and
Yeah.
then uh, when it's not snowing, I'm pushing her in a stroller up and around. So I'll get there. I'll get there.
It pumps me up, Kev. Yeah, no, that's really great. Um, I'm really happy to catch up with you tonight. Like, I think this is the kind of laid back conversation like I crave. Like, I love having just getting catching up with old friends, and this is good to
Yeah,
do again.
for sure. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, hopefully one of these days. We haven't started traveling yet since everything hit the fan. We're doing some trips driving with us, so we did Boston and stuff, but
Hmm.
both of us are like, we have to do California at some point. We've got to go out for.
Well.
I'm pushing. I keep pushing for like a Christmas in California.
Hmm.
That just sounds cool. I think.
It does sound cool. Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff going on down here during Christmas time, and
So we'll see
snow is
about
not
that.
one of them. So
Snow is not one of them.
that's a good thing. Um,
Try to avoid the wildfire season.
we've been really lucky with about that. We didn't really have much of one this past fall. It's shocking. Usually we're good for like 5 or 10 of
Oh,
them.
thankfully, right? But you've had
Yeah, we're really
Northern
grateful.
California has been a little bit
effed up this
Well,
last few
yeah, and
months.
you
But
know, yeah, I feel terrible for the folks up north. Like, but in this case,
yeah,
it's about flooding, and it's just been, dude, like, what do you got
yeah.
to do just to have like a calm season over
There.
there?
Well, I don't think there's. I mean, it's just going to switch around, right? Like
Yeah.
tornadoes down southwest kind of stuff. You guys have all the
Eh,
other fires and
yeah.
earthquakes and
Well, we had
atmospheric
one. You know,
rivers now.
it's
Like what?
hysterical. We just had an
I just
earthquake
learned
last.
about that.
Yeah.
Like there's rivers in the sky now that just dump on you guys and just wash people away. I
Yeah.
mean, if you think about it, even though we get the shit cold and stuff, we're actually pretty lucky as far as like natural disasters go, where
That's
we
true.
are.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
guess
down
it's
south with
one of those
hurricanes
things where,
and
like, if you're kind of inland, like you would be, and you're kind of north and inland, you two tend to be really lucky in that regard. Like, you wouldn't have hurricanes because that's in the south. You wouldn't necessarily have tornadoes because that's in the Midwest. So you're kind of out of most of that. Yeah.
yeah, there's random like I've been on. There's a few on the Cape where like a tornado there'll be like a touchdown, but it's very low on
Mm,
the rating system. And there was a hurricane that got up to the Cape, but it was it's by Atlantic, it's like a tropical storm. And then
yeah.
Sandy obviously came into New York, didn't come up here, but those are, I mean, those are very very infrequent.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
so yeah, you just hope everyone's just it's so it just it's going to keep getting there and
Keep getting more intense. So we just take care of each other and
have a fucking good time while we're here, right?
yeah.
Like play the piano.
Thanks. I
Don't
try to
take
do.
yourself too seriously, everyone, not just you, Dave. You
No, I
don't,
agree.
but
I love that comment. I love
like
that.
everyone
like that's another thing that I've been trying to because I was the king of that.
overthinker, everything's too serious, the end of the world. But
The only thing that's the end of the world is the end of the world. So
have a
Why
good
worry
time.
about that now?
Do your the I mean, I watched your I don't think I signed up because I was doing something else or I signed in but I watched your Christmas movie ranking thing
Oh, Brett. Yeah, that was
with
great. That's good.
yeah, was it
Brett or Brad or somebody.
Yeah, Breddington frothing slush. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
buddy. Yeah.
he was really funny and I mean
I am always astonished at like not just a guest you get, but like their knowledge of like
Yeah.
you guys are talking about movies that not only did I not see, but I had never heard of. And like uh it's just so I just love it. Like Mark Maron does a thing where is one of his bits where he's like just so much out there now where he's like not only did I not see the show that someone asked me, I didn't see the platform. I don't even never heard of the platform that it was on. Like so I was like, hey, have you watched Yellowstone? And you're like, what is that on? You're like Paramount Plus, and you're like, what? I don't. What is that? Like, I don't. So like, there's you find in these guys, and they're funny, and that was a really good one. I was like, I think I tried to stay up for the whole thing, but I don't think I stayed up for the end. Yeah, but yeah, like some of those, I mean, I have notes somewhere. Like I always have a notebook, obviously, like right next to me, so I have a note somewhere of like movies to watch next Christmas now from you guys. That was a great show.
It
it was
was.
really good.
Well, I'll look credit to Brett. Brett is so good at compiling these tier lists, and he does it from scratch. It's really impressive. So I'll give a
So he does that with other things too.
What's that?
Is that his deal? Does he have a show where he just does lists and rankings and stuff?
He does. Like, he has a podcast. Like, there's a podcast. If you're looking for pretty good podcast universes, his podcast, and he reviews TV shows.
Podcast universe.
Now, right now, he's reviewing the Wednesday Addams TV series on Netflix. So he does a lot of TV and movies like on his podcast, and he's also a really incredible foodie. Like, you would be like impressed. Like, I know you're in the food industry, you had been for a while, and I think you'd be very impressed with his food knowledge. Like, his knowledge of cooking and ingredients and food in general. It's impressive. It's really good.
Yeah. I think so. I'm the only guest you have that we don't eat sandwiches because I think every other time I
I
watch you
owe
do
that
a
too. I owe that too. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I will fix that next time. I just
no, that's
I
good. I think I like it. I want to be that person
you want to be that
every
right? Okay.
because
Okay.
but yeah, and then there was another one I watched. You had two not streamers where somebody else. There was a
it's a girl and a guy doing like songs. You were interviewing or talking. I
Oh,
don't know,
Justin
and
and Evelyn. Yeah, yeah. Those
they were
were
eating
they.
eating sandwiches or like, and that's the other thing. Like I can't. You guys can all go out
Wait.
at any hour and have 10 sandwiches to choose from. If I went outside and walked anywhere to
Yeah.
try to find food, I would have to break into someone's house. And hopefully they were making a sandwich and be like, "Can I have that? Because I have to do a podcast." Because
Kev, wait. When was this show? I'm trying to double check this. Like, was this in December?
uh, yeah, I think
Okay,
I
that
was.
was Kevin Chambers and B flat. Yeah, Kevin Chambers and B flat was that
It was
show.
a man and a woman for sure, and
Yeah,
they
yeah,
were
yeah.
young. They looked younger, but not by too much than you.
Well,
But
they were definitely younger. I think. So,
yeah,
yeah, that would have been Kevin. Yeah. So yeah,
yeah,
another Kevin.
that's the one thing. Like I always tell my wife too. I'm like, at some point, maybe when we're older, when the kids are all like, can we just go like at least not maybe we don't have to move, but like we spend 3 months like in a populated area where I could like just go out and get ramen when I want, or go to the sandwichery down the street and not have to like plan 3 days in advance, like if you're gonna go out somewhere and hopefully it's open because no one works around here anymore. So people are open like 3 days a week or random hours.
Well, yeah, but it's interesting. Kevin Chambers and B flat are in the tri-state, so they're pretty close to where Mike in North Jersey lives.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So
Or like even a college town. Like
yeah,
I was like, can we just move to a college town? Because then we can go to food trucks and
yeah.
um, we don't have college towns. I guess we can move to Boston. That's what we'll do, Dave. Wherever Cody goes to college, we'll just move there. Or I'll move there if she doesn't want to.
Would you move to
Just hang out.
Syracuse? You gotta hope
No.
that Bayham's no.
No, you just ruined it. No, I've spent too
There are
many nights in Syracuse. I have limits. I have limits. No Buffalo. He's not going to Buffalo. No Syracuse. I'll go to a cold place if it's a cool. Like if he goes to the University of Wisconsin, I will go there. Like I don't drink anymore though, so that would
Okay.
kind of that would. So I don't. Yeah, no, Syracuse is not happening. There's just too much or too little hope
Yeah.
in Syracuse.
Okay.
It's too gray, just always gray and cold. Um, and Boeheim is annoying. He'll be dead by then, but I mean, Cody's only 4. So I think I'll push for like out by like,
Okay.
why don't you go, or not, maybe not all the way, but maybe why don't you go to like University of Mexico or go to, uh,
Austin.
yeah, I mean, who knows what Austin will be like then, but go to Loyola in like, what is it in New Orleans?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
go to University of whatever. Do they even have not LSU? I'm not going to Baton Rouge or those knuckleheads,
What
but
about Tulane? Like Tulane, New Orleans?
I think Tulane might be the best bet. I think
Mhm.
you're right. I think that's New Orleans. So
Yeah.
you got the music, you got the food. Um, if you can combine, that's a good way to look at it. Who knows what the kid's going to be interested in, but Chicago would be cool. Food, music, obviously Southern California. Have them go to what's the one in like in Malibu? It's like Pepperdine.
Pepperdine. Yeah. Well, it's just
Yeah.
stuffy university though. I don't know if culturally it would be a good fit for like what
Yeah.
your family is all about.
I mean,
but-
if you look at him, I should just send you a picture one of these days. I mean, he is like California boy central. He's
Oh,
like
really?
shaggy blonde hair.
Ooh.
He's already like almost 4 feet tall and like no fat whatsoever. I don't know where he gets his body from, but it's not me. He looks like a mini surfer already.
Wow. It's pretty good. That's pretty good. Well, I'm excited about the future for your family. It's really great to hear your updates and
Yeah, man, you too.
yeah, thanks. I'm really looking forward to continuing this a little bit. Like I don't want to leave.
Yeah.
The other thing is, like, I think I was kind of mentioning it in text today, but like, I don't want to stop doing podcasts. Like, I just want to make that clear to everybody who's listening
Right.
to this tonight. Like, I just make sure that I just want you to know that we're gonna keep going with this. I might change the name of the show again, but I'm not gonna stop doing the show. Like, this is always going to be a part of my life. Like, I really want this to be a part of my life if I can.
Well, think about it, Dave. Like we did like the run of
Mhm.
like 2010 to whatever it was. But
And then in the when we stopped doing it weekly, every once in a while there was like some kind of huge thing, like the Godfather stuff, or
It's a great
uh,
show.
where so it's sort of like you've always still been able to like nail it. Maybe and it's different because it's like when we were doing it was like every week. It was like not like a grind, but like we were both had a job, like it was a lot. And then now there are these things I did the football stuff with you guys. That was great. But I don't know. The Godfather thing was so good
So good.
that I feel there is something there, like like some kind of classic movie um chat thing. But I don't know if there's anything that rises to the level of The Godfather, and also the fact that neither of us saw it before, and the fact
It
that
was a
we have
unique situation.
so
Yeah.
many Italian friends who literally live by
I
it
know. I
and
know.
think it's
Such a dynamic.
so that was a part of it. Like I don't know if anything else could catalyze the group, or maybe this new group is something else that something else might appear. Like so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
But
But
for the most part, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm like the old days. I'm not up for anything like I used to, but I could still bring it if we have certain topics or certain questions or
yeah.
certain
Yeah, and
themes.
I guess I think one thing I would probably say, oh my goodness, Jack is back in the chat. It's good to see you, Mr. Ninja. Welcome in. I don't know how kids would go to school in New Orleans. The funny thing is, Tulane and Loyola, I think, are right down the road from each other. There's a beautiful park across the street from Tulane. You can get on the St. Charles Street train, which takes you right to the French Quarter. So cool. Hi, Dave and Kevin. Hello, John. Been a minute. I'm glad you're doing all right out there. It's so good to see you again. Our friend
I figured it out. Colorado State, not so great in football, not so great in sports, but it's in Fort Collins, which is really cool college town. Not too much pressure. It's not like Boulder with all the rich people and all the snobby people. I think I'm going to try to push them there. We have family in Denver.
the water is amazing there.
You know,
Yeah.
that could be the spot.
If
Obviously cold in the winter, but
Mhm.
a lot of outdoor stuff, a lot of craft brewery. Not that I would do that anymore. Or maybe
Yeah.
if I get, yeah, you know what? If who knows? Yeah, maybe something like that.
Yeah, I like it.
Wyoming.
My goodness, it's been a million. It's been a minute, John. It's so good to see you again tonight. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. But Tom Tester has contributed some points to the Sticks Piano Stream Challenge. Thank you so much. And by the way, anybody else in the chat, if you'd like to contribute points to that, much to our friend Kevin's chagrin, you can, and you can
Oh,
make
please, Sticks. Come on, do it. What is this challenge you're gonna do?
basically a 3 hour Sticks piano stream, like all the songs of Sticks. And listen, I wasn't that excited about it at the start either, but I do have to say it was really fun to play a couple of songs of theirs last night. So I think I'm good for it now. So let's
Wait, you're gonna get 3 hours of Sticks?
yeah.
Is that possible?
It's absolutely possible.
How many songs do they have?
They had so many hits in the 70s. Like they had absolutely possible. Like I was just thinking of it in my head. I'm like, that's at least like 15 songs. Yeah, that'll take you at least 2 hours, and then you could probably add another 5 or 10. So
Um, no, I don't.
I don't know. I don't claim to be a very. Sometimes you say I have a lot of music knowledge. I think I have certain knowledge of.
I don't know if I know a stick song.
I think you might know at least one. Come Sail Away. I think you know.
Okay,
Yeah.
I do know that one.
So you know one. That's pretty good. John in Georgia says, glad to be back.
Oh, John, Georgia.
I'm so sorry you're back in
Nice.
the hospital though. That's a bummer. But you were
Like
home
right
for
now, he's like
yeah.
he's texting you from the hospital.
Yeah. Hopefully home soon again. Oh, no worries. Well, I'm
Is it
glad you.
because did he have a meltdown because you're doing a Sticks marathon?
No, he would have been all about it. No, John would be all about it. John would actually be
Well-
one of the. I think John is into. I think John's like one of his favorite bands, if I recall correctly.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe he can be the guest karaoke singer for the Styx. Like,
That's up to you, Jake. Okay, it's up to you, Ninja. If you want to
I
do
would
it,
I would
let's
I
do
would
it.
definitely listen to that. And
I should mention for those of you who are tuning in tonight and are not familiar with John, like John and I go back too. We go back many years. Like we knew each other about as long as I knew you, basically. Like about 10, 12 years. Long time. Like you know each other.
I mean, there's
there's a few people that have like legendary
Dave.
Ditkow. I mean, what would you call your world? It's like it was Dave in the City Out West. That's how we originally knew you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But like your universe, you've got like a handful of posters
Yeah,
and
I mentioned.
like people who've done the chat room, and
Well,
John is one of the
oh
like
yes, absolutely. Like
5 that easily,
and maybe sometimes gets put not as to the front as some of these other bigger, like louder people, because he's so kind and
yeah,
thoughtful and
and
not
faithful
shouting
too.
from the rooftops, not like
Right, right.
hijacking the program like
Yeah.
some people we might
Some people we know,
remain nameless,
very
who I love, no
important
matter what
people.
everyone thinks.
People we've had
I-
on the show recently. Yes,
I literally love Andy as much as anyone
Oh,
I've never
absolutely,
met in
absolutely.
person.
Yeah.
Um,
But by the way, that's kind of what I want to do next week. I'm gonna reach out to Andy, see if we can get Andy on here next week or the week after. We'll see if it works out. Should be really fun.
I would love an Andy like bit where he's not watching sports or gambling on sports.
I don't think
like,
that's gonna
if you
happen.
actually could get like into the guy himself, because I actually think he's a really smart, interesting
yeah.
person.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Um,
No, but I think that's the idea. Like, I think we would have no problem with that. But he will be watching games, like when we do these.
like, does he watch like television shows?
Yeah,
or
he's
movies?
very dialed into television shows. Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
I would love to hear that for just a little change. Like,
Oh gosh, Kev, he will deliver.
Because-
He knows so much about TV. Like
Really?
he's really good, really good.
okay,
And movies too.
like current stuff, or he like,
yeah, current stuff.
and
classic.
he's younger too. He's probably like 40, maybe 30.
He's about the same age as me, so we think of him as young, but we've all kind of gotten older. But we're not that old. We're not that old. Like we're definitely younger.
Of course, we've gotten older, but yeah, well, he looks like, I mean,
Yeah, I know. It's pretty impressive.
he's got like no fat on the kid, and he looks like he's in unbelievable shape. But
yeah. Well, he's
I don't know.
active. Like he's playing golf, and he's like, you know what I mean? Like he's always.
well,
out
he's
there.
always, even when he's sitting on the couch, he's moving.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched him on? If
That's
like you
true.
look at him when we do the things,
Yeah.
he's never still.
Andy made
Like-
an impression in our Twitch chat very quickly once when we made our debut on Twitch. Like it was.
You ever see like old Tom Arnold? Like
I remember
he,
Tom Arnold. Yeah, a little bit.
he would
yeah.
always be like moving and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
doing stuff, and you're like, wow, he's just burning calories, just sitting there.
I
Yeah.
kind of remember that.
Chris
yeah.
Farley was the same way. Chris Farley was always moving, like he couldn't sit still.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure it was chemically enhanced too, but like whatever.
Oh, yeah, Farley, absolutely. Yeah,
Opposite of Chevy Chase, by the way, like just a sweetheart who just couldn't
it's true.
get a hold of his stuff.
That's such a shame.
Poor guy.
Although it's interesting to really evaluate. Well, before we do that, John saying, "I'm glad to be back." Unfortunately, thank you so much, John. As far as the piano comment, Dave, I'm glad to say your piano playing is getting so good. Well, thank you very much for saying that. People don't just say that just to say that, because like people have really come out of the woodwork to say that. So like that really means a lot. Thank you, John. I'm really glad to hear that. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll keep trying to improve upon it. Absolutely. Guitar Brian says, or Guitar Barian, and so we should give Guitar Barian a shout out. Sickles of the river between the living realm and the world of Hades in Greek mythology too, which is correct. Yeah, that's the river Styx is like a river that's kind of represents hell. That's why they call themselves Styx, because it's like sort of like a Greek mythology thing.
It's deep.
It is.
It's deep. Two tickets to paradise. It's deep.
Yeah. I like Styx, says John. Hate what they did to Dennis DeYoung after they broke up. Seems like he's been begging to do a reunion tour. I couldn't agree more on that. I thought that DDY was kind of like a bit of an ego, but it does seem like now the band is the ego. Like lately, it just seems like he's just trying to reach the olive branch and they're no selling him. It's possible that there was a bad blood that extended like many decades ago that I don't know about, but I feel like you let bygones be bygones. There, like you hear him do the solo shows. It's still pretty
Dude,
good.
the Black Crows got back together. Come on, those two guys wanted to kill each other.
Yeah, there you go. See, so like if they can do it, anybody can do it. So it's like
Yeah, I mean,
Alba
that's a
got
good
back
one.
together.
That's a good one.
Alba's back doing
Yeah, that's
music. Like if they can do music, why can't Styx do music? Like that's
yeah. I mean, Crosby, Stills, and Nash got back together in '01, and Young and Crosby were going to kill each other.
Yeah.
That would be a good one for another day when we, not so late, but like
Yeah.
reunions that you would like to see. Those.
It's funny
That's a
because like
good
a lot of
one.
them have happened already. But
It's a big time for that. Oh my God. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
big time.
especially that kind of whatever classic rock, whatever you want to call it. I mean, they had a big dip, and like no one wanted to hear from any of those guys in the '80s and even the '90s. But now, if they had just survived, like I always, like the Allman Brothers, like no one wanted to hear about the Allman Brothers for 15 years. I don't want to hear anything from those guys, and then they couldn't. I mean, people were from like 95 to 15 or whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
they could sell out whatever they wanted to. Like some of those guys were, I not Greg Allman particularly, but the rest of them. I mean, they had no money. They were broke. They spent the '80s
Yeah.
like playing in shitty bars, and I mean, this is Allman Brothers. Like no one cared. Like even the guys. That's why I always say the guys of the band, Richard and Rick, who died, obviously, if they had just held on and got it together in the late 90s, it all came back. They would have been playing the Garden, and they would have been playing all these places,
That is really the shame of it, honestly. And it's it's really interesting. John Ninja's point. You'd hear about Nash hating on Crosby, and now Crosby passed, and we talked about this earlier in the program where we felt like Crosby was an ass. Like we both agreed. We had a consensus, Kevin and me, and we said, yeah.
Well, Nash and Crosby were closer in the days when Young and Stills were closer. It was sort of like 2-on-2 for a while.
Yeah.
But even as they got older, I think Nash had enough of them.
Yeah. Which
I mean, he's a very outspoken. He has a lot of Twitter and
yeah.
But
He's a big mouth. Like
Young and Crosby, Neil Young and David Crosby. I mean, Neil Young is also hard to get along with too, from
that's fair.
all accounts.
Very
but
fair.
I think I remember David Crosby said his favorite band of all time was Steely Dan. But I don't know if he was trying to be.
You think he was just trying to show people up with that comment?
Yeah, maybe. I think it was like trying to Paul Simon everybody.
That's interesting. That's an interesting angle. Stuart says Young is from here in Winnipeg, so our friend Stuart Hayek is from Winnipeg. But that's actually right. That's right. He is from
Yes, he is.
That's right. That's good stuff.
Packed up all my bags, drove up to Winnipeg. Don't Be Denied, one of my favorite songs of all time. Winnipeg, right in there.
I would say don't sleep on Winnipeg, and I'm a little biased. I have friends from Winnipeg now, but it sounds like it's really cool. It's like a very underrated place, it seems to me. But it's cool. Like so many cool
Neil
people.
Young's dad was like a very famous sports writer.
Oh wow!
I think he's in the Canadian Sports Hall of Fame or something to that effect.
That's pretty neat. Yeah. Well, anyway, Kev, I don't want to keep you from the family and everything, but but I'm happy. Look, if you want to keep going, I'm happy to keep going. But
no, 11 o'clock is good for on the East Coast.
Okay. So, Kev, thank you again. Let's do this again sometime for sure. Like you said, we don't have to worry about prop bets or anything of that like in the next week or so. But it's just good to talk to you again. So thank you so much again for.
Yeah, you got it, brother.
Yeah, man. Take care, Kev.
You got it.
All right, bud. Well, that's Kevin on
Sticks rules.
Sticks rules. Kev, I appreciate you. Thank you again for doing this with us. So good times. Like, if you missed any part of it, you can find the replay right here on this Twitch VOD. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube or those of you on the podcast, I want to thank you again. I'm Dave Medina. You know me as Davey's Eating a Sandwich on Twitch. You can follow me on all the socials, TikTok and Instagram. And in either of those, you can find me as Davey is Eating a Sandwich. But for now, we say goodnight. And on the podcast, we'll see you next time. Take care for now. Those of you on Twitch, stay tuned. We got more for you. And yeah, definitely, John. Thank you so much for saying that. It's great to see you again as well. We are not done on Twitch yet, so we're gonna take a BRB. gonna go take a restroom break and then put together some things. We'll be back with some music, and we'll take your requests. So speaking of piano, I'll be glad to play some more tunes for y'all, and we'll probably do it for like an hour or so, and then just kind of take us to the deep into the night. So stay with us. We'll be right back.